right, then. Let me just share up again. All right, hi everyone. As I said, make sure you grab a paddle or a broom because we're going to need it for the demo follow along later. But wait, I need to see everybody. Here's my Zoom. Oh God, I can't see it. Okay, you know what? Just tell me if I ever cut off or anything. But thank you for joining us. So today we're going to be talking about how to OC and some differences in paddling from how it's from dragon boat. But the reason why we're focusing on OC today is because we can only OC this summer. Typically we're 20 people on a dragon boat and that's just like not feasible for COVID, which is why we have OC, which is essentially a one-man canoe. And that way you can still semi-social distance on the water. And we're going to go over how to OC, then the safety on the water and what happens if you ever flip the boat, that sort of stuff, and then also just the paddling basics. So first we'll just show you what OC looks like. And this was me the last summer with our coach. I'm actually going to slow it down because it is a little bit speedier. But this is just so you can see what it looks like. You're one person and you'll notice this big old white ama, and that can be either on the left or the right side of you. It's really just for balance purposes, and we'll get into that a little bit more later. So here's what the stroke looks like. And yep, it's a fun time. It's a nice view on the water. Let me mute this actually. Okay, I think that's enough for getting a sense of it. And okay, let's start with what the OC parts actually are. So as I was saying, the ama is that white attachment to the boat. It can be on the left or the right side, and is really just for balancing. So if you ever imagine how you would flip, it's because actually the ama is like almost, if you think about it, a counterweight. So if the ama is on my left side, just like how it is in the picture, and then I lean a lot to my right, what happens is the ama starts flying up off the water and goes overhead of me. And that's how you flip the entire boat because your weight was too much on the right side. So it is a little bit of a balance when you're on the water. And then the rudder is essentially how you steer. So you can't see it in the photo. Actually, you can see it with the blue boat here. There's the two little foot pedals, the black ones. And for me, it would be right underneath my feet. And usually they're pedals or they're for steering. And it's attached to the rudder all the way at the back of the boat. And that's how you steer left or right. You can steer with your paddle too, but it's just a lot more convenient using the pedals or using the steer stick. And that's like, if you think about it, it's just like a little black plastic piece that goes left or right, and that's how you move from left to right side. Am I still this slide, guys? I couldn't remember. I can't see on the thing anymore. This one's you?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so when you get to Pickering or Sunnyside, the OCs are going to be on the dock, and you need to carry it into the water. So and there's like specific steps that you need to do. So always two people because it's pretty heavy and you don't want to damage the boat if you drop it. So one person's going to be at the front, one person's at the back, and the ama side towards the ground. Kind of intuitive. You want to make sure that you're standing on the very edges of the boat, because if you stand towards the middle, it gets really heavy on your shoulders. And you can always switch shoulders if one of them gets tired. You're holding on to one shoulder, you can just press it above your head or tuck underneath. You just basically want to make sure that the ama and the rudder don't hit the ground, because if these damage, then you can potentially lose your steering or you can sink in the water, and you don't want to get into that situation. So you put you put the boat on your shoulders, you walk it down to the docks, and you need to put it in the water. So you line the boat up parallel to the docks with the ama side facing the water. Together, you slowly drop the ama into the water, making sure that it doesn't hit the dock. And then you kind of slide it out to make room for the rest of the boat, and then you put the rest of the boat in. And yeah, don't let the rudder or the ama hit the docks. And this next slide is just what it looks like in the water. See the ama is on the opposite side. The guys in the boat.
Can you guys hear me? All right, I am cursed again with audio, so apologies for that. But yeah, so we're just talking about getting on and off the OC. Right now, we're just assuming that the OC is already on the dock, in the water, and everything. The idea is just, again, you just want to throw your butt onto the boat first, and then swing your legs in. Typically, you don't want to be leaning towards the dock because once the OC is in the water, there is the possibility for it to flip. So every time you get on the OC, and no matter when you're on the OC, you want to be leaning on the side of the AMA as the bottom point where there says. Prior to that, it kind of just depends on preference. So for me, I typically like to put my water bottle and anything in, like, so water bottle in, taking off the leash and all that, putting that in first before I put my butt in, put my butt and legs in. But again, that's up to your preference. Kind of try it out and see what works for you. With getting off, it's the same idea, but in reverse. So all you have to do is swing your legs out, or sorry, swing your butt out, take out your legs, making sure that you're leaning on the side of the AMA again, otherwise you'll tip, and then taking your stuff out again. All right, so coming back to the dock is kind of like parking your car. There's an entire like sequence to it, kind of like when you leave the dock. So again, that comes with some practice. You'll see once you get on it. But yeah, so just once you're approaching the dock, put on your mask for health and safety protocols. Grab the dock so you can just pull yourself in. That way you don't have to like work with all the steering and stuff. And yeah, nothing more than that. You can just get up, wipe down the boat, remove the leash and everything, and then take the boat out and then walk it back to the where, I don't know what it's called when you park, like where you put the boats.
Yeah, and the leash, for anyone who doesn't know, it's this black plastic rope that also has a Velcro at the end. It's attached to the boat, and you would Velcro it to your ankle. And why it's important is because you might huli. And huli, it just means you flip the boat and you're in the water. And it happens to everyone, like no worries. It happens to new people more so because they're less experienced with like the balance and the feel of the water. But let me just show you what it looks like first. I think it was like 3. Okay, yeah. So here they're going to excessively lean on the non-AMA side, and you'll watch the AMA flip and fly off the air just like that. So what happens is you're usually staying close to the boat. And that means when the AMA goes overhead, it won't knock your head. So make sure you either stay underwater or stay close to the boat, so you're right in between that 2 spaces and you don't get knocked with the AMA. So now you can watch what they do to get around. First, you need to move your body to the other side. So I believe this person's going to go all the way around the boat. If you want, you can take a deep breath and go right underneath. So we'll watch what they do. I think they will go all the way around. Yeah. Yeah, so they're swimming all the way around the boat. And I'll skip a little bit more. And here they are on the other side. Now this is like a bit more of a tricky part. This paddle, he's still holding onto it. You can let go and give it to someone else to hold onto you. Now he's grabbing the lip on the other side and flipping. See how his head is again safe because he's right in the middle zone where the AMA won't hit him. And now you can just scooch and slide yourself back in. There's no elegant way to do this. That's just the name of the game, but that's all right. And you will be wet, but that is how you do it. So how a huli happens, I'm not going to play the video, but again, it's just, let's see, I think we have a thing on it. No. How to huli. Lean on the side without the AMA, as I said, because your weight is going overside. Or if you get on the boat very carelessly. So if you don't scooch your butt on nice and slowly, you might rock the boat too much. Or if you hold the boat on your offside, or you make a sharp turn on your offside, all those things are a way to do it. You'll usually know when you're leaning too much because you can feel the AMA start lifting off. So again, just be cautious in your first couple times and you'll definitely get a feel for it. And I'm not sure why we needed this column, but how not to huli is stay on the side with your ama. So sit your butt really close to the ama side and you'll be fine for the most part. Okay, I think this one is Chris
This
now.
one's me. Just a comment on the hooliging thing. If any of that scares you, you'll be wearing a life jacket and you'll have multiple people around you. So it's not as scary as it looks like. In the video, I don't think she had a life jacket, and you'll be safer with us, I guess. That's what I want to point out. So some things to bring for your OC day. You want to bring a paddle and life jacket if you have. If you don't have, the facilities will supply them for you, so that's no problem. You need to sign your online waiver, and I think there's a new COVID waiver that you have to make sure that you get done. You need some weather appropriate clothes. So if it's cold, you want to bring long sleeves and pants. If it's hot, you know, a tank and shorts. Flip-flops, slides, Crocs, or just shoes that you don't mind getting wet. Because if you hoolie, then you only have one pair of shoes, then they're definitely going to be wet on the way home. Bring a water bottle and then some extras in case you run out. Bring some sunscreen and a hat and sunglasses if it's sunny, because when you're on the water and it's sunny, the sun's reflecting into you and you can get heat stroke pretty quickly. Bring extra clothes just in case you hoolie. Bring a towel in case you hoolie, or just because you'll get a little bit wet. Bring a mask and a Ziploc bag. So you'll need to be wearing your mask at all times until you get onto the water. And then when you put it in your pocket, it's probably going to get wet. So you can bring a Ziploc bag to make sure that doesn't. And then when you put it back on, you're not like drowning yourself. And if you bring a phone, keep it in the car or with your bag at the shed. If you don't need to bring it.
So does anyone have any questions right now, either about what to bring, how the hooliging works, how paddling works? You can type in the chat too if you don't want to like speak up. Yeah, I think Ria.
Oh yeah, sorry, I just want to ask, like, is there a place there where you can can you like rent a locker or something, like if you want to put a bag?
So yeah, we're referring to Pickering right now because we don't have anyone paddling at Sunnyside. But Pickering, there isn't a locker or anything. I would recommend just leave your phone in the car, leave the valuables in the car because it's just not worth it. They have little lanyards with like a little sleeve for you to put your phone in. Some people use it. I just prefer not to unless you really need your phone with you. But otherwise, just have your mask. That's like the one thing you need to bring on the water, and as well as your water bottle, so you're like staying hydrated. But that's about it. Yeah, there's no lockers, unfortunately.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Anyone else? Okay, and also if you don't have your paddle or broomstick, make sure you go and get that now. We're going to start talking about how to do the stroke. Okay. Oh, I believe Chris wanted to do a rerun of what OCing is. So here you go, Chris.
I have nothing to say about this guy's stroke.
He looks good. That's what matters.
He's kind of clean.
Very clean, very clean. All right, that's our biggest takeaway from this slide. Okay. All right, we're gonna start with how to do the stroke now.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
So now that we've seen Chris be so majestic on the water, we were all like, hey, we all want to be like Chris, right? So now you know how to get on the boat, but now we got to figure out like, how am I actually going to move, right? And so pretty much we divided the stroke into 4 different parts. Okay, so I'm going to go over the first 2 with you, and then I'll pass it over to Kyle, and he'll go over with the last 2 motions of the stroke. So first, I'm going to start with setup. So I'll just sort of explain it first, and then we can all go ahead and try it together. So with the setup, there's something called the, ooh, a little bit too excited there. There's something called the A-frame. And when we get back to that picture, you'll pretty much see that Fiona's body and the paddle creates a little bit of an A. So you see that the paddle is that left part of the A, her back is the right part of the A, and then you can see her bottom arm there forms that cross of the A. So whenever you hear someone say, oh, A-frame, or you're doing your setup, you're doing your A-frame, that's what it looks like. Okay, so the big thing with the setup is that you want to keep your arm straight, and you want to make sure your top arm is away from your forehead. So you'll see in the picture there, you see that Fiona, her top arm is not like right here next to her forehead, it's sort of away from her body, okay? And then that 4th point there says positive blade. So what that means is that if you take a look at this blade, when you enter the water, you don't want to be like chopping down in the water, so you don't want to be going straight down. You really want to make sure that your paddle is angled so that when you go into the water, you're actually going to make sure that you're actually like, pulling some of the water. If you just go straight in like this, you're not going to be helping the boat move. If anything, you're going to be slowing the team down, okay? So positive blade pretty much just means, going at an angle like this, okay? And the final thing is a straight back. So if you take a look at Fiona there, you see that her back is not curved, she doesn't have like scoliosis or anything, her back is straight, okay? So now that we've gone through all the points, here, I'll show you real quick, and then, feel free to come in whenever you feel comfortable and, just join me and try your hand at doing a setup. So both arms straight, your top arm's away from your forehead, positive blade, meaning that it's an angle, and you're just gonna set up just like this. Okay, so you can just try your hand if you want and just practice doing a couple of setups. And our pool coaches will, be watching, and if they have any like comments or you have any questions, feel free to unmute. But yeah, just like practice a couple of times doing your setup position. Awesome. Awesome, looking great, Felix. Nice, Matthew. Got Jeff, the veteran there, showing us how it's done. Yeah, Ria. Okay, Emma, yeah. Awesome. Great, yeah. So those all look really good. Does anyone have any questions about the setup before we move on to the next part? Feel free to raise your hand or unmute. Yeah, okay. If not, yeah, we'll move on to the next part. So the next part is the catch. And so the catch is really when your blade's going to the water. The setup, your blade's pretty much out of the water the whole time. Now you're ready, you're ready to do that really big, nice stroke. And so the catch is really when your blade enters the water. And so that first point there, it says a full buried blade, which pretty much means that if this is your whole paddle, this is your whole blade, and it's in the water, I don't want to be able to see any of it, okay? You want the water to go all the way up to here. So that's what it means with fully buried. It's fully in the water. Again, the positive blade, so making sure that, when you go into the water, you're going in at the angle. And then you also want to make sure you do something called hip rotation. And so I know this is a lot, but hip rotation pretty much means you really want to sort of turn your body almost with leading with your hips. And that'll really help you get the most out of your stroke. And so when your blade's fully in the water, you really want to try to, lean with your hip so that will really allow you to turn your body and rotate. And that final point there just says body drop. So you can see in the picture there, Fiona, you see before she might have been a little bit sitting up a little bit straighter, but you can see when she's going for that catch, her body drops all the way down so that she's closer to the water. So if you want to just like take a look and join in if you feel comfortable, pretty much you're going from that setup, and what you're going to do is you're going to be moving your whole body down with the blade. And so that's what the catch is. So just practice doing that from your setup, and you're moving your whole body down, your blade's in the water now, you're rotating with the hip. Yeah. And so yeah, just try a couple of times doing those catches, and again, our coaches will sort of look. Awesome, Felix. I love seeing that big movement there. Way to go. Nice, Ria. I love it. Yeah, awesome, Bonnie. Yeah, feel confident in yourself, girl. You're doing great. Nice, Emma. Nice. Nice, Matthew. Way to go, guys. If there are any questions about catch, feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, I'll pass it off to Kyle.
And one thing everyone's doing really well here is hinging from the hips. So body drop doesn't mean like, oh, I'm just going to bring my chest down. It's actually your back is kind of still straight. If you just look at the picture, it's from the hips that you're hinging downwards. So that was something everyone was doing actually really well. Good job, y'all.
All right, so now we're moving on to the pull, and this is essentially when we get into the actual stroke. So again, we went from the setup where we were nice and rotated, going with the A-frame, dipping in. So now the paddle's in the water in the catch, and now the pull. So the pull is essentially half a push, half a pull, because the push part being that your top arm is going to be pushing the paddle through the water, and the bottom arm isn't going to really be pulling, but rather it's going to be guiding the head of the paddle through. So from here, you're just going to be going from your, your dropped position back into your back into like a sitting position. So down and up. You're going to be derotating. So originally you were rotated from your catch. You're going to be rotating upwards. And again, you'll see it once you get into the water that it's actually very natural. And the amount of engagement in your arms isn't as much as you think it might be. The idea that I like to go with when it comes to the pull, at least with your arm, is that you're trying to sheathe a sword. So kind of like you're trying to go from here and down. It's one straight motion, boom, with your arms. That's it. The rest of like all the force and everything, you're mainly going to be pulling with your body. And it's mainly, again, from the movement. And can we transition to the next slide? Right, and so from the pull, we swing into the exit. So this is when, after you pull, you bring your paddle out of the water. So you move from sheathing to unsheathing the sword and getting ready to make another stroke, right? So once you finish your stroke all the way through, you want to be pulling all the way, pushing your top arm all the way to your hips. Once it's there, then you want to essentially do the reverse. So then you want to be swinging out to the side, drawing your top arm again, and then getting ready back into the setup position. It's kind of, again, hard to explain what it looks like or what it feels like. But with your bottom arm, you don't, again, want to be using too much of it, but rather you just want to be letting it guide the head of the paddle, the blade of the paddle. So that's why I wrote in, you want to keep it close to the water, because again, it's primarily going to be just guiding the blade. It's your top arm that's going to be doing the majority of the movement here when you're taking it out of the water. But yeah, so this is your opportunity to essentially just take a really quick relaxation moment before you start getting tense again to set up your stroke. Right. So I'll just go around through it really quickly. Let's see here. Right, so if you have a paddle, it's pretty long, so I don't expect you to actually be able to make a full stroke. But so you start over here. So let's just run through really quickly. So you go from your setup, where your back is nice and straight. You dip into your catch where, again, you got your body drop over here. And then when you pull, you push down with your top arm. So you should be feeling a lot of force in your triceps over here. Pushing through, rotating, derotating at the same time, because again, you're starting from a rotated position. You want to be sitting back up. And then I have my bed over here, so I can't really go all the way. But normally, my arm would be finishing at around here, right? Mid-thigh to hip. And then from here, you want to be guiding your blade out with your left arm, or sorry, your bottom arm. In my case, it's the left. And going back into that setup position. For your top arm, it's sheathing and unsheathing, sheathing and unsheathing. It's, again, a lot of information. And all of these things are a lot of these things that we mentioned are very small details that go into the stroke. And we don't really expect you to be able to do it right off the bat.
Don't worry if you can't remember everything right now, because it takes some getting used to, and once you're actually on the boat, then you'll be able to feel what they actually feel like, because paddling in the air is not really representative of the boat feel. So we encourage you to get out on the OCs as much as you can.
Yeah. So again, it's just, I think the main takeaway for this is just try to get some of the terminology and some of the idea of what the form is into your head. So for example, if we say, maybe in your catch, you can use a bit more body drop, right? Then if that's the case, then what we're referring to is, maybe you can move down a bit deeper, move your body down a bit lower, so that your blade's a bit further into the water. If you say, apply more top arm pressure, then that's when we're referring to your actual stroke, right? And we see that you are maybe using too much of your bottom arm and pulling rather than pushing and rotating. So it's just these, it's just getting used to the terminology and getting familiar with our feedback and what we're essentially talking about when we are giving feedback. Yeah.
Awesome. Are there any questions so far? Does it feel weird for anybody? Because that totally makes sense. It's not a natural human movement, but you will get used to it. But yeah, anyone have any questions? Okay. Do you want to show one more video? I think it's still Chris. But does
Right.
anyone want to see another video of Chris OCing again?
I'm pretty sure it's the same video. We're just trying
Okay.
to like identify the components.
Yeah. Can we just slow it down to like 0.5 speed?
Yeah. Okay. 1 second.
All right. So yeah, so that's actually what, so Chris says roast my cache, but it's funny because in the OC, that's one of the big differences between the OC and the dragon boat is because the OC, you're actually a bit further elevated, and you typically do use a longer paddle, and therefore because of like just the nature of everything, you don't have as much of a catch, so you don't dip as far down. You notice that Chris's top arm is staying identical, so it's not shifting, moving around at all. It's staying, even though it's not perfectly straight, the idea is that it's still relatively straight and pushing down, which is the top arm pressure. Can you run it by one more time, Fiona? And you'll also notice that he isn't actually pulling a whole lot with his arm. The only time you may see a bend is when he's exhaling, but that's really about it. You see that he's switching between shoulder to shoulder, so almost. You can see the different sides of his body, which shows that he's rotating. And you can definitely see that he has a positive blade angle when entering the water. And that just comes naturally when you rotate. So like, once I get my paddle, right? If I'm sitting up straight and I straighten out both of my arms, maybe I'll get like a bit of a positive blade angle. But then if I rotate and I lead with my hip, you already see that with my back facing with my, almost like the side, you can always see my sides, right? That already gives that natural blade angle. Right, so these things sound very unnatural and they sound very forced, which is what it's going to feel like at first. And that's obviously with the use of terminology. But once, again, you start doing it again and again and again, and you get familiar with like some of the major components, you'll see, oh, this is actually very easy to do. And it's very organic.
Yeah, okay, so thank you, pool coaches, for helping me with the demo for today. Just like a last note is I'll be posting kind of like a follow-up post with links to how to join us for OC practices. This weekend, a couple execs and I are going to go out on the water, but we want to do weekly practices either on Saturday or Sunday. So I'll send you links with how to sign up and then also how to pay at Pickering. And then hopefully you guys can come out for our weekly practices with us and we'll be able to lead the sessions with you and lead practices, how to get the feel of the water, and then also actually get into some technical practices as the summer goes on. So yeah, it's really nice if you guys can come out on the water because we honestly have a little bit of advantage to get on the water during this summer. And otherwise we would be starting from scratch in September and we'd lose essentially 3 months of potential paddling practice. So get on the water as soon as you can. If you have questions, definitely ask me or any of the pool coaches and we'll be very happy to answer you. And if you need rides to Pickering, that sort of stuff. But I think that's everything. Am I missing anything, you guys? No? Okay, awesome. Any more questions for anyone? No? Okay, amazing. Thank you guys for coming out tonight. I know it was a bit of a later meeting, but I hope you guys got some information from that. I know it's a lot, so the link for the slides will also be posted afterwards. But yeah, thank you for showing up, everyone. Hope you all have a good weekend.
Thank you, guys.